Feeling a sense of impending doom or that something terrible is about to happen is a normal part of anxiety. This sensation can make you feel like something catastrophic is about to happen, even when you're perfectly safe. Well, I want you to know that this is a very common experience for anxiety sufferers. So I want to unpack it so that you know why you're experiencing this feeling and give you the right way to respond to it so you're no longer afraid of it. Let's jump in. Hey friend, this is Peter Wessels with Fearless Anxiety. If you don't know my story, I suffered through absolutely debilitating anxiety and panic attacks for nearly 2 years. I went from an outgoing guy to someone who could barely leave his house. It affected every aspect of my life. I mean, I could barely show up to work, I couldn't be the husband that I wanted to be, and I couldn't have the experiences and the adventures that I wanted to have. My life had completely changed seemingly overnight, and my sole objective soon became just trying to survive each day. Well, during this period, there were moments nearly every single day when a sense of complete doom would wash over me. I could just be standing in my kitchen and suddenly feel like something terrible was about to happen, or that I was going to pass away. It'd be really terrifying, and this feeling would seem to come out of nowhere, even when I was in a safe environment like in my kitchen. Then, for the rest of the day, this feeling would hang over me. It'd be like this dark cloud, and I'd keep thinking, something bad is about to happen. All right, so let's break this down. Anxiety can create a wide array of emotions. You can feel tired, depressed, panicked, and many other emotions, which includes this overwhelming feeling that something awful is about to occur. That is also one of the emotions that accompanies anxiety. This is what I like to call the feeling of impending doom, and it can strike in random situations, even when everything seems to be fine. So, why does this happen? Well, it has to do with you being stuck in a state of heightened anxiety, where your nervous system is in overdrive. Right now, your body is stuck in fight or flight mode, and it's reacting as if there's threats or dangers around, even when there are none. This hypersensitivity can cause intense emotional responses, one of which is the feeling of impending doom. Here's what happens. When your brain perceives a threat, whether real or not, it sends a signal to your adrenal glands to release adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones prepare your body to either fight the threat or run away from it. Now, this is a very useful response if you're actually in danger, like if you need to quickly get out of the way of an oncoming vehicle. But when you have anxiety, this response is constantly being triggered when there's no real threat to fight or flee, and it can create this sense of impending doom. Okay, so that's why you're experiencing this feeling. It is your overactive and sensitized nervous system that is creating it. Now, let's talk about how to respond to this feeling. The natural reaction is to want to freeze up and become very scared. But here's the trick. You need to do the exact opposite. What I want you to do is implement the fearless approach. And I talk about the fearless approach all the time. But if you don't know what that is, make sure you click on the 5-step cure to anxiety and panic attacks in the link below. It's completely free, and it's going to break down the fearless approach. The fearless approach is going to be your new approach to anxiety. It's a set of steps that you implement each time you experience anxiety. For today's purposes, let's just use the core 2 steps of number 1, dismiss your anxious thoughts, and number 2, surrender to your anxiety. Those are the steps that you are going to use the majority of the time. So when you feel that sense of dread, a lot of times what happens is your brain starts to race with frantic worry. You'll have worries like, is something bad about to happen? Or am I going to pass away? And your brain just goes on and on with these kinds of worries. Now, the first thing I want you to do is to stop these thoughts and worries in their tracks. I want you to dismiss these anxious thoughts, which is step number 1 of the fearless approach. To do that, I want you to say the phrase, "Who cares?" In other words, if you feel that sense of impending doom and you start to have the worry like, is something really bad about to happen? What you're going to do is you're going to say, "Who cares?" in response to that thought. The reason you can dismiss this thought is because you know that the only reason you're having these thoughts and feelings is because your body has engaged your fight or flight response. You know that you're actually safe and that nothing bad is going to happen. But instead, your body is just in a protective and ultra sensitized state. What dismissing these thoughts does is it allows you to get these thoughts out of your head. Again, what I want you to do is to dismiss the thought. And as you do that, put a smile on your face. Then I want you to move to step 2. Step 2 is called surrender to anxiety. And what you're going to do in this step is you're going to surrender to that doomsday feeling that you're experiencing. In other words, do not, and I repeat, do not let yourself become afraid of the sensation. Now, that's easier said than done, right? I mean, you're experiencing a doomsday sensation that feels like you might pass away. But when you surrender to that sensation, what you're doing is you're letting that sensation come in. You're allowing it to be present. And that is a huge, huge transition from what you were doing, which is tightening up, becoming scared, and becoming fearful. Okay, for me personally, these feelings of impending doom typically occurred shortly after I'd wake up in the morning. I'd be getting ready for the day, and then I'd have this overwhelming sense of doom. As I began recovering, though, I stopped letting these sensations and these feelings frighten me. Instead, I'd say, who cares to any of these negative thoughts, and I'd do so with a smile on my face. Then I'd surrender to the sensation itself. What I mean by that is I'd tell myself that this was just a feeling and that it was okay to feel this way. And I'd also remind myself that, that was just my fight or flight response engaging. Then I'd return my focus back to what I was doing. I'd make breakfast, I'd get dressed, and I'd go to work. Now, this feeling would still be there for a bit. It wasn't going to go away immediately just because I responded in the right way. But what I was doing is I wasn't giving it any more attention. I wasn't letting it scare me, and I wasn't letting it make me more anxious. And that is a huge, huge step in the right direction. To be clear, changing my response to this doomsday feeling required a big mindset shift for me at the time. Because what I'd previously been doing was I would kind of freeze up, and then I would want to go run and hide. The intensity of the sensation was so strong, and these dark thoughts of something bad was going to happen just caused me to want to go and just stay in my house. So I would call out of work. I would cancel appointments. I would do anything to not leave my home because it felt like something bad would happen if I did. But once I began implementing what I now call the fearless approach, everything changed because I was now surrendering to my anxiety. And that signaled to my brain that there was nothing to be afraid of, that there was no danger around, and this feeling of doom was not needed. In essence, what we're doing is we're allowing the fear in. We're saying, all right, I know this is just a feeling, and I'm going to allow it to be present with me. And again, I can't stress this enough. The reason we can do this is because this feeling of sudden dread is just your body in fight or flight mode. That's it. It's just adrenaline and stress hormones that are making you feel this way. Another important aspect is understanding that these feelings are temporary. When you're in the midst of feeling this way, I know it can feel like it will never end and that there's no hope. But remember, these sensations are just your body's response to stress. They're going to pass. So remind yourself that this is a temporary state and that will help reduce the fear and intensity of the experience. If you haven't already, to get more information on the fearless approach in all aspects of recovery, I've put the 5-step cure to anxiety and panic attacks in the link below. It's going to show you the recovery process so that you can fully overcome anxiety once and for all and go back to living a normal life. All right, that's it for today. If you found this episode helpful, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button and subscribe button before you leave. Also, make sure you share this with someone if you think it might benefit them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.